Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. It's me Fahad, your ACCA tutor for financial management. Sir, today we would be discussing our past paper related to investment appraisal, PV company. Okay, sir, let's continue. PV company. Sir, PV company is evaluating an investment proposal to manufacture the product W33, which has been performed well in the test marketing trials conducted recently by the company Research and Development Division. The following information related to the investment proposal has now been prepared. Sir, it has made an initial investment of 2 million, whereas the selling price per unit is 20. Expected selling price inflation is 3 per unit, 3 per year. Variable operating cost is 8 per unit, whereas the fixed operating cost is 1,70,000 per year. Expected operating inflation, expected operating cost inflation is 4%. 4% would applies on both the variable as well as the fixed cost. Okay, sir. Then the Research and the Development Division has prepared the following demand forecast as a result of its test marketing trials. The forecast reflected expected technological change and its affected on the anticipated life cycle of the product W33. Whereas the project life is of 4 years, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. The demand of the following years are as follows. It is a demand of 60,000 in year 1, 70,000 in year 2, 1,20,000 in year 3, and 45,000 in year 4. It is expected that all the units of the product W33 will be produced and will be sold. In line with the company's policy of keeping no inventory of the finished good, it assumes that it will meet all the demand that it will produce. If it produces 60,000 units, all 60,000 units would be sold. Okay, then moving forward, no terminal value or the machine scrap value is expected at the end of 4 years. There would be no scrap value after 4 years when the production of W33 is planned to end. For investment appraisal purpose, the nominal money discount rate is 10%. In this question, we have already been given a nominal rate, so we will use a nominal rate instead of using our real rate and convert it into a nominal rate by multiplying it with the general inflation rate. Then, sir, our target return on capital employed is 30 per year. The question says you have to ignore taxation. There is no taxation. Okay, then moving forward. Okay, so then moving forward, uh, we also have uh, some requirements related to Part A, Part B, and Part C. In Part A, we have to identify the key stages in the capital investment decision making and the role of the investment appraisal in this process. Okay, so we have to identify the capital investment decision making, how capital investment decision making occur. Then in Part B, we have to calculate the net present value and internal rate of return, accounting rate of return, and then discounted payback period. So it would be discounted payback period. Okay, then as you know, there are two types of payback period. One is the normal payback period, and the other one is an discounted payback period. So here the question specifically required for the discounted payback period. Okay, then moving forward to part C, in the question asks to please comment on the findings and your above observation that whether it is feasible to invest in the project after considering in each of these four criteria. Okay, sir. Let's continue our part A of the question, which says that you have to identify the key stages in the capital investment decision making. Sir, there are, as you know, there are following 6 stages. Sir, there are 6 stages in capital investment decision making. Number one, you have to forecast the capital requirement. How much capital do you have, or how much capital would be required for an project? So it is forecast capital requirement. Then when you have forecast your capital requirement, then you have to identify all the projects. that how many projects do you have. Then in part 3, uh, after you have identified all the projects, you have to choose any one of the project, choose the best one. Then you have to make investment. Then after making investment, you have to monitor and control. Sir, firstly, you have to forecast the capital requirement, that how much capital you would need to invest in a project. Then you should identify all the projects, how many projects do you have. Then uh, after reading all the first you have to identify all the projects, then you skim all the projects step by step, that it is one project, what are the pros and the cons. Then after identifying and seeing all the projects, you have to choose one of them. After choosing one of them, you have to make investment in this project. After making an investment, you have to monitor and control your investment and see the progress and the forecast the capital requirement. Okay sir, hopefully you have done with the part A. Now moving forward to the part B. Before starting part B, I would request all of you to please read the question again. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I hope that you guys have read the question. Now I think we shall move. I think we should move the question downwards so that it would be clear and visible for us. Okay, sir. Now starting the question. As you know, you have to firstly draft the format. You have 4 years: year one, year zero, year one, year 2, year 3, and year 4. Before starting that, I share RH to your page acknowledge. Okay, sir. What are your demands that you would sold, or units that would you sold? It's 60,000 in the first year, then it is 70,000 in the second, 1,20,000 in the third, 70,000 in the second, 1,20,000 in the third, and it is 45,000 in the fourth year. Okay, sir. Then your sales would be, then you would have a sale. You would be having a sales of rupees 20 per unit is equals to 20 per unit. You have 60,000 units. Then you would close the bracket. Then in year 2, you would having 20 per unit and you have 70 unit, 70,000 unit. Then similarly you would paste the formula in each of the year. You would copy the formula and paste it over each of the year. Then you would also be having a variable cost. The selling price are being inflated at the rate of 3% per year. So there is all the, it is already given in the question that it is in the current price term, which means you have to inflate from year 1 onwards. So it is, you have to inflate it from year 1 1.03 raised to the power 6, and it is 1. Okay sir, sorry. Similarly, you should copy the formula, then you should paste it over here. Sir, it has been inflated for year 2, it has been inflated for third year, and it has been inflated for fourth year. And the same goes for the variable cost, that it is 8 per unit into minus 8 into number of unit minus 8 into number of unit. You have 60,000 unit, then it is multiplied with your variable cost is being inflated for at the rate of 4% per year, is into 1.04 raised to the power 6, and it is 1. Then you copy the formula and drag it over 4 here. Okay, sir. Uh, when you neglect, when you subtract the variable cost from the sales, then you would be having the contribution margin. Uh, okay, so then you would be having a contribution margin. The contribution margin would be as follows, that your contribution margin would be set 736,800 for the first year, then it is 879 for the second, double 1542 for the third, and 591 for the fourth year. So then you you are also having a fixed cost that is 170,000 per year. So if it is 170,000, it is inflated from the year 1 onwards. It is 1.04 raised to the power 6 is inflated from year 1. So copying this and drag it over 4 year, so that we are having 183 in the second year, 191 in the third, and 189, 198 in the fourth year. After deducting the variable fixed cost, sir, we would be having an operating profit, and then there is no tax or capital allowance given the question. So we would ignore this, then we would be having an operating profit. Operating profits, or our operating profit would be contribution margin less fixed cost. If you less the contribution margin with the fixed cost for all 4 of the years, you would be having these figures. Okay, so then you have the discount. You also have to place the working capital. So working capital is 2 million that you would invest at the start of year 0, and there is no investment scrap value, so you would always place 0 at the end of year 4. Then you have the net cash flows. You are having a discount rate at the rate of 10%, which is a nominal discount rate. So you don't have to convert into a real or do something else. Similarly, pasting at all the values, then you have a discount rate of 10%. So I place it 1.1 raised to the power 6, power minus 0. Then copying the formula over 4 years. Then I'm having, then sir, I would be having a net present value. Our net present value would be as follows. You would multiply the discount rate with your net cash flows, discount rate with the net cash flows. So you would be having these figure at your net present value. Then net present value would be sum as follows. Your net present value is 367785. Okay, sir, this is your net present value. Then in part 2, you have to calculate the internal rate of return. As I told you earlier, for internal rate of return, you have to calculate the negative cash flows. So I am calculating the negative cash flows. Your cash flows are as follows. So I would copy the cash flows, control or P, and only place the values. Then I place the discount rate. The higher the discount rate, the lower or negative the present value would be. So if there's a 10%, at 10% I'm having a positive NPV, then for example I should place 20% and check whether I am having a negative NPV or not. So is equal to 1.2 raised to the power 6 minus 0. So I'm having these figure. Then there is net present value. So my net present value would be as follows. If I multiply 2 million with 1, then it is 2 million always. Then it is as follows. Then my net present value would be at the rate of 20% is 78674. As you know, sir, my IRR formula is equals to, you have a small a, you have to add it into capital A upon A minus B into B minus A. Okay, sir. For A minus B, you have a small a, then for small a, then you have a small b, which means which represent the rate, then you have a capital A, then you have a capital B. Sir, at a small rate, which means at 10%, sir, at 10%, sir, you have two rate at 10% and 20%. At 10%, you are having a positive NPV of 367785, which is represented as a capital A, and at 20% you are having a negative NPV of 78633. So I would subtract capital A minus B, which means, sir, my A 367 would be subtracted with minus 78633. Then A upon A minus B, your A would be 367,785. It is divided with A minus B, it comes in point. Then you have to multiply it with into A minus B, which means this figure, oh, I shall write it over here, is equals to, it shall be multiplied with, then I multiply the figure with B minus A, B minus A, which represent this, your above answer 0.8 would be multiplied by B minus A. If I minus B 20% with 10%, it came to 10%, so I would directly multiply it with 10%. After multiplying with 10%, it came at 0.08. Then I would add the A in the above figure, which mean that 0.08 would, I would add 10% of it. Then my IRR would be, sir, my IRR is 18.24%. Okay, sir, my IRR is 18.24%. Then, sir, you have to calculate at part 3. You need to calculate your accounting rate of return, or you can also say the return on capital employed. So the formula for return on capital employed is equals to uh, accounting profit, average profit divided by average investment, which means average profit divided by average investment. So our average profit would be divided by average investment, which means ROCE is equals to average profit would be divided by average investment. For average profit, you would simply, so you would simply take your average profit, which means your average profit, your total profit for the 4 year is as follows. Your operating profit, yes sir, here is your operating profit for 4 year. My operating, wait a minute, sir, let me write the formula so that you guys, so that it would be easy for you guys when you are copying this. My divided by number of my every profit would be divided my operating profit would be divided with number of year. For example, my operating profit is 0.3 number of years. It is 4-year project. Then after dividing the operating profit with the number of year, you are having an average profit offered of rupees is equals to 300 divided by 4. It came out to 750. Then you have to divide it with the average investment. For calculating the average investment, you are having the investment of 2 million. So it is 2 million. So it the 2 million would be divided by, so sir, that 2 million would be divided by 2. So for average investment, it came out for average investment is 2 million, which is divided by 2. It came into 1 million. What's the return on capital employed? For return on capital employed, ROC is equals to average profit, which means your average profit, your average profit is 750,081. It shall be divided by 1 million. It came into 75%. Okay, sir, it came into 75%. Your ROC is 75%. Okay, so then you have to calculate your discounted payback period. Your part 4 is to calculate a discounted payback period. Discounted payback period, for discounted payback period, you have year. Uh, that year shall be divided with number of, you have paid your initial investment. Then I would write your cash flows. Then I would write your cash flows. Okay, sir. You have 4-year project, A1, A2, A3, and A4. Their initial, wait a minute, sir. Control C. Okay, sir. You have a 4-year project, A1, A2, A3, and A4. Initially, you have made an investment of 2 million. Initially, you have made an investment of 2 million. Then you will be having a cash flows of, at year 1, you are having a cash flow. So you are having a cash flow of 560,000 in the first year. Wait a minute, sir. You have to use a discounted cash flow as it is given in the question. You have to use a discounted cash flow. So my discounted cash flow for the year 1 is 509019. For my discounted cash flow for year 2 would be 574. Then my discounted cash flow for year 3 would be 101, and my discounted cash flow for year 4 is 268. Okay. So for example, you have an investment of 2 million, and at year 1 you have already covered 5 lakh, around 5 lakh. So your remaining investment is 1490 has been left. Then at year 2 your investment level is only 9,50,000, and at year 3, so your investment has fully been covered. So your investment is covered at 2 years, and for 2 years, and it has been covered in year 3 also. So in how many months your investment has been covered? So you just have to divide your remaining investment with the cash flows. So here, sir, your remaining investment at year 2 was 915, and your cash flows was, sir, 1 million, around 1 million. So you have covered the investment at 2.9. So it is, you have covered the investment in, so 2 is equals to 2 plus 0.9. So you have already covered the investment in your 2.9 years. So your payback period is 2.9 years. Sir, you would divide your year 2 remaining cash flows, remaining investment with year 3. For example, you have divided 915 with 1015, that comes into 0.9. So you have covered your 2 million investment in 2.9 year. Said we have used a discounted payback period. We can also use a normal payback period before discounting. Sir, but if the examiner has specifically asked for a discounted payback period, therefore we have used a discounted payback period here. Okay, sir. Then you have to comment whether it is financially acceptable for you to accept the project. Sir, if I would see net present value, I am having a positive net present value. Therefore, it is feasible for me, or it is viable for me to accept the project. Therefore, I should accept the project. Then, after considering the IRR, sir, my IRR is greater than our cost of capital, that is 10%. Sir, my IRR is 18.24%, and my cost of capital is 10%. Sir, I was expecting a 10% return, but the project is giving me 18.24%. Therefore, it is feasible for me, or it is viable for me to accept the project. Then, after the project also says in the question here, your return on capital employed is 30%. Sir, I assume that in the profit I would earn is 30% on my investment, but after calculating the return on capital employed or accounting rate of return, I'm getting 75% return on my investment. So it is feasible for me to accept the project. Okay, sir. And the part 4, discounted payback period. Sir, it is, let me think that is there anything written in the question that in how many years does I recover the money? It is expected that all the product is there is no inventory scrap value when the production is planned for investment purpose, nominal value discounted